Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're stepping into a conversation often filled with quiet discomfort, but rarely addressed head-on. In any committed relationship, we all want to believe we're on the same page, that the bond we've built is strong enough to withstand distractions. But in today's world, where connection is just a swipe or message away, maintaining emotional exclusivity has become more challenging than ever. This video isn't about jumping to conclusions or feeding insecurity. It's about tuning into the subtle emotional shifts that may be happening right before you. Sometimes the most important signs aren't loud or dramatic. They're soft, almost invisible patterns. Changes in affection, energy, or attention that slowly reshape the dynamic between two people. You're not alone if you've ever felt something isn't right. And while this topic can stir difficult emotions, it's also an invitation to approach your relationship with clarity, honesty, and self-respect. Today, we'll explore 6 hidden signs that your partner may be emotionally or physically investing in someone else. This isn't about creating fear, but helping you stay grounded in reality. So stay with us until the end of the video. These insights might give you the clarity you didn't know you needed. Let's get started. Number 1. Her affection feels scripted. There comes a point when something feels different, not because of what's said, but because of how it's said. You hear the words, "I love you," but the warmth is missing. The tone is flat, almost practiced. It's not the content that raises questions, but the delivery. Once spontaneous and full of life, her affection feels like a carefully rehearsed line, like an actress who knows her script but no longer believes in her role. At first you might try to explain it away. Maybe she's tired, maybe she's distracted, but the pattern doesn't break. Her hugs are quick and detached. The way she kisses you feels like a habit rather than a desire. Her hand no longer reaches for yours during quiet moments. There are no more lingering glances across the room. Once alive in the smallest gestures, the spark is nowhere to be found. You're not imagining it. You're experiencing the slow fade of genuine emotional presence. She may still say what she knows you want to hear, but her voice carries no weight. Her actions no longer align with her words. This isn't an argument or a blow-up. It's the quiet performance of affection when the heart is no longer in it. You sense the shift not because she's angry or distant in the obvious ways, but because she's going through the motions without soul. What often follows is a growing sense that you've been moved into the background of your relationship. You're no longer the center of her attention, but a placeholder. She may not even be fully aware of it, yet her energy, her focus, her emotion has turned elsewhere. Perhaps to a new interest, perhaps to herself. Either way, it no longer flows in your direction. This is not just about love becoming routine. Even routine can carry warmth. This is something colder. It's a sign of emotional detachment, often masked by polite affection. She might not want a confrontation. She might not be ready to leave. But emotionally, she's already withdrawing. And if she's giving you scripted love, it's often because the real love, the messy, real, imperfect, vibrant kind, is being invested somewhere else. As hard as it is to accept, genuine connection can't be faked. And when affection becomes a performance, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to recognize it for what it is. Not an act of cruelty, but a reflection of emotional truth she may not have found the words to express. In silence and scripts, the truth reveals itself. And the question then becomes, will you keep playing your part in a story that no longer writes itself from the heart? Number 2. Her schedule becomes unpredictable. In the beginning, she made space for you easily. Plans came together with little effort. She was present, engaged, and consistent. But now things feel off. Her once reliable schedule begins to dissolve into vagueness. She cancels at the last minute, not with genuine conflict, but oddly hollow excuses. Where she used to look forward to your weekends together, she now seems unsure. Fridays suddenly off limits, but Sunday might work for an hour, and even then, something about her feels distant, like she's somewhere else entirely. This shift in availability isn't random, it's deliberate, not always conscious, but often revealing. When someone genuinely cares, they don't just find time, they make it. They plan, they look forward, and they show up. But when a woman becomes emotionally uncertain or pulled in another direction, her time becomes fragmented. She stops initiating plans or gives you tentative answers that never quite solidify. You feel like you're waiting in limbo, unsure whether she's coming or going. That feeling is real, often meaning her attention is no longer solely on you. There's a pattern here that's easy to overlook. A woman keeping her schedule vague may not try to hurt you, but she leaves room for other possibilities. It's a way of hedging her emotional bets. She wants to stay open without closing any doors. And sometimes that means you're no longer her only priority. It doesn't always imply betrayal, but it does mean disconnection. Emotional investment is no longer where it used to be. People who care are consistent. They are not perfect or continuously available, but they don't leave you guessing. They don't treat your time as optional. If she's pulling away, it's not because her life suddenly became chaotic. It's often because she's making space for someone or something else, and the unpredictability of her schedule becomes a quiet message you weren't meant to hear. You're no longer the center of her time. When time starts slipping away, don't chase it. Pay attention to the silence between the plans, the hesitation and the vague excuses. She's not ready to say these are all part of the story. And while it's painful, it's also clarity. Inconsistent effort is its kind of communication. Sometimes absence says more than presence ever could. Number 3. Her social media presence shifts. You might not notice it at first. A picture goes missing here, a tag disappears there, then suddenly the two of you are no longer visible on her digital life. The change is subtle but deliberate. Where once there were photos of both of you smiling at dinners or cozy at home, now there are solo selfies with golden hour filters, carefully crafted captions about freedom and self-discovery, and stories that hint more than they tell. It's not just aesthetic, it's emotional messaging, and she knows exactly what she's doing. When a woman begins to shift the tone of her social media, it's rarely accidental. Social platforms are modern-day mirrors, not just reflecting our lives, but projecting the versions of ourselves we want others to see. If you're suddenly absent from that picture, you may already be absent from the place that truly matters, her emotional world. Her feed becomes a quiet broadcast, a signal to someone, perhaps not you, about her status, availability, and readiness for something else. She might not say the words aloud, but each curated post whispers it. I'm not tied down anymore. It's easy to dismiss this as vanity or coincidence, but social media today is a relationship thermometer. If she stops posting about your life together, it doesn't necessarily mean she's hiding. It might mean she's starting over. Those finding myself captions and cryptic weekend stories aren't just updates but markers of a new narrative. A story where you might not have a place anymore, and while they may seem vague or playful on the surface, underneath is a more profound shift. a quiet declaration that her identity is separating from yours. You don't have to be a digital detective to read the signs. You only need to ask, where did I go in her story? If her presence online becomes all about independence, new beginnings, and single energy, it often reflects something real behind the scenes. Even if she hasn't said it aloud, her actions speak, and they talk to someone beyond the screen. Emotional availability rarely vanishes without a trace. It just changes platforms. And today, more than ever, those platforms hold truths people are too afraid to speak directly. If you're no longer part of the image she wants the world to see, it may be time to ask yourself why. Because the feed doesn't lie. It reveals what's no longer being said. Number 4. Secretive behavior with her phone. There was a time when her phone didn't matter. It lay face up on the table next to her, untouched during dinner conversations, and left behind without hesitation when she stepped away. But now everything has shifted. She keeps it close like a secret. The moment it buzzes, she flips it over. Her replies dry up completely when she's with you, but she's back on the screen the second you look away. She never used to take her phone into the bathroom. Now it goes everywhere. These aren't coincidences. They're clues, a pattern. Her behavior has become cautious, but not in the name of privacy. It's about protection, not of herself, but of what she doesn't want you to see. It's not just that she locks her screen or hides her notifications. It's the subtle tension in her body when you glance in the phone's direction, the way her tone sharpens if you casually ask who she's texting, the reflexive shift she makes to guard the screen as if it contains something fragile and forbidden. You can sense it in how she no longer lets her digital world overlap with the one she shares with you. That phone has become a second home, a separate life, and you're no longer welcome inside. It's the space where conversations happen that you're not a part of, where attention flows in a direction she's unwilling to admit. It's not about whether she's physically cheating, it's about where her emotional loyalty has started to drift. When someone begins to guard their phone like it holds a dangerous truth, it often does. There's a psychological shift that happens when secrecy becomes routine. It creates emotional distance. The person standing across from you might be smiling and saying all the right things, but a part of them is already elsewhere, a growing disconnect that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. You feel it in the silence. You see it in the sideways glances, the unexplained smiles, the quick switches of the screen. She's living a version of herself that doesn't include you. Her phone is the passageway. This is not about controlling her or demanding access to her private messages. It's about recognizing when trust has been replaced by doubt, when shared openness has been quietly swapped for hidden narratives. If her phone was once a casual part of life, and now it's a fortress, so you're not imagining things. The screen she hides is often more honest than the words she says. In a relationship, his attention is currency, transparency is trust, and when a woman begins to shield her world from view, the message isn't just digital, it's deeply emotional. You don't need to read her messages to understand what's happening. The way she guards that space tells you enough. Sometimes silence isn't absence, it's the sound of secrets piling up behind a lock screen. Number 5. She's no longer curious about your life. A woman who cares deeply about you won't just want to know who you are. She'll want to understand how you are. Your stories, your struggles, your wins and worries will matter to her. But when that natural curiosity begins to disappear, when she no longer asks how your day went or what lights you up or wears you down, That's more than forgetfulness. It's a signal, a shift. Something that once felt emotionally alive now feels distant and muted. You'll feel it in how she responds, or rather, how she doesn't. You might share something personal, hoping to connect, but she nods vaguely or offers a half smile before changing the subject. She no longer follows up on the things that matter to you. She's stopped asking about that work project you were excited about, or how your best friend's wedding went. Conversations that once ran deep now skim the surface, like two people exchanging weather reports instead of real feelings. And it's not just what she says, it's how she listens, or doesn't. You'll sense she's somewhere else when you speak, distracted, absent. You tell her about a difficult moment at work or a dream you're working toward, and she seems emotionally checked out. She may still be physically present, but she's already drifting emotionally. You might not be able to prove anything, but you can feel everything, and what you think is absence. The truth is that when a woman's emotional connection to you is real, her interest in your life is instinctive. She doesn't have to force it. She asks questions because she wants to know. She listens because your voice still matters to her. But her emotional bandwidth often finds a new home when that connection starts to fade. Maybe it's work, perhaps it's stress, but more often than not it's someone else, someone new who is now receiving the curiosity she once gave you. Emotional withdrawal rarely begins with dramatic fights or big betrayals. It usually starts quietly. In moments where you reach out, she no longer reaches back. When you tell her about your life, she no longer cares enough to ask more. This lack of curiosity isn't random. It's often a precursor to something more profound, a sign that her emotional presence is being rerouted. And when that happens, it's only a matter of time before the distance becomes emotional and physical. When a woman forgets to ask about your life, don't just assume she's tired or busy. Pay attention, because curiosity is one of the last things to go. And when it does, it means her heart may already be elsewhere. Number 6, she's vague about future plans. One of the most telling signs that a woman is drifting emotionally isn't loud or dramatic, it's quiet and vague. You ask her about a weekend getaway next month, and she smiles but says she's unsure what her schedule will be. You mention a concert coming up, and she responds with a soft maybe, but never brings it up again. You notice a pattern. The more you try to build something in the future, the more uncertain her answers become. It's not that she says no, she never says yes. She floats in ambiguity, never landing anywhere long enough to make you feel secure. This kind of emotional hesitation isn't about being too busy or overwhelmed. In most cases, it reflects an internal conflict she hasn't admitted out loud. She's leaving space, not just in her calendar, but in her heart, for something or someone else. And that space, that gap, becomes something you feel every time you try to reach toward the future, and she quietly steps back. Her words become placeholders. We'll see, and I'm not sure yet, are not neutral responses. They're signals. And over time they create a landscape where you're always waiting, hoping for confirmation that never comes. When a woman is genuinely interested and emotionally present, the future becomes something she leans into. She's not afraid of plans or of building something that takes time. But when unsure where she wants to go with you, she avoids locking anything down. That hesitation might seem polite or reserved, but it carries weight. Because relationships grow in direction, not in circles. If every invitation is met with a soft deflection, if every vision of tomorrow is met with a fog of uncertainty, you're no longer walking beside her, You're walking alone, hoping she'll catch up. The emotional reality is simple. People make time and space for the things they value. A woman who envisions a future with you will want to create shared memories, not delay them. She'll bring up holidays, ask about weekends, and suggest things to look forward to. She won't always need you to plan everything. She'll participate. But when that participation fades and her answers become vague, she tells you quietly but clearly that her heart may not be in this. There's a truth few like to say out loud. Indecision is often a decision in disguise. When she avoids making plans, it's not just about uncertainty, it's often about emotional distance. Sometimes she's stalling, not because she's waiting for things to improve, but because she's holding the door open just enough for another possibility to walk in. And in doing so, she keeps you on pause, hoping you won't notice the delay. You don't need to push harder or plan louder in these moments. You need to listen to the silence, the hesitation, and the way her uncertainty feels heavier than her presence. Because when someone truly wants to share the future with you, they don't dodge it. They meet it with open hands. And when they don't, it's not a mystery, it's a message. When emotional presence begins to fade, it often speaks louder than words. The subtle shifts, scripted affection, vague schedules, changing social media behavior, phone secrecy, emotional disinterest and avoidance of plans, don't always mean she's physically seeing someone else. Still, they almost always signal that her emotional investment is no longer where it used to be. These signs aren't about creating paranoia, but about clarifying the situation. In relationships, silence can be just as revealing as confession. It's easy to ignore the little things, the shifts that happen quietly over time. But when someone's emotional energy begins to drift away, it's essential to recognize it for what it is. The key isn't to rush into confrontation, but to observe patterns, stay emotionally grounded and trust your instincts. Your intuition tells you when something feels off, and while you might not have concrete evidence, the overall emotional disconnection is hard to ignore. If you notice multiple signs aligning, it may be time to step back and reevaluate where you stand in this relationship. It's not about jumping to conclusions, but about being honest with yourself about the direction of things. Relationships should be a source of comfort and emotional security, not a place where you're left questioning your worth or whether you're being kept as a backup option. You deserve someone who's fully present and invested, who values your time, energy, and emotions. You don't need to fight for affection or beg for attention. You deserve a partnership where you're valued just as you are. So, take this as a reminder to pay attention to the small changes and shifts that might be happening in your relationship. If you question whether she's still emotionally available, don't just brush it aside. Trust your feelings. Honor your emotional needs. And remember that you deserve to be in a relationship where you don't have to wonder where you stand. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever noticed these subtle signs in a relationship? How did you handle the situation, and what did you learn from it? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can stay updated with more insights into relationships, emotional awareness, and how to build stronger, more authentic connections. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next one.